This is the BVG alongside with that other guy, and we're back. But this is now the selection show of the modern CFT 26 tournament from EA Sports College Football 26.
Well, guys, we have made it here. It's been a long tournament. This is the biggest tournament we've ever done, but we have made it to the playoff round. Hope you guys enjoyed what you've seen so far, and you have seen nothing yet because now we got the 18 playoff. Today, we're going to tell you the 8 teams that have qualified for the playoffs. Give us our predictions, give us the matchups, and tell us who you think is going to win it all.
Well, first off, let's start with how the tournament has started. We started with 21 teams, 3 ways to get in. 9 of our 21 teams made it in as automatic qualifiers. They were based on their preseason rankings when we combined the AP scores along with other metrics to determine the top 9 teams. Then you had the conference play-in. Every conference is represented in this tournament. So there were many teams that were able to make it into the tournament just from the conference qualifier. And then to add more assurance of inclusion, we included the runner-up cup. So the runners-up of every conference game in their play-in, they get one more chance to make it into the tournament, and it pretty much built the field of 21 teams. Now we're down to just the top 8. And to make it into that tournament, you would need a 4-win, 2-loss record to play in the national quarterfinals. In our national quarterfinals, the top 4 of the 8 seeds will earn home field advantage. So when we get to the top 4 seeds, just keep in mind we're going to be playing at their fields for the quarterfinals. In the semifinals, we're going to use 2 bowl games, and the theme is more, I guess, of a flowery or grounded growth type bowls. Semifinal number 1 is going to be the Cotton Bowl, and semifinal number 2 is going to be the Rose Bowl. And of course, those top seeds will be playing as the home team. And for the national championship, it's going to Miami as we play for the play in the Hard Rock Stadium. So with that being said, it's now time to announce our teams that are participating in the national quarterfinals. So let's begin with the seeds representing number 8 all the way to number 5. And we begin with Oregon State. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, the first team, and I already screwed that up. Number 8 is actually Oregon. Oregon has made the playoffs. They made it in with a 4-2 record. Their last appearance was last year, CFT, losing in the semifinals to Georgia. Remember that game?
Yeah, that was a really tough game for Oregon. Oregon really was not firing all cylinders at that game, and Georgia pretty much handled them convincingly. Hopefully, this is Oregon's chance to get redemption. Georgia surprisingly did not make the tournament, but this could be their opportunity, to...
Georgia's in the tournament. They played this year.
Oh, I am so sorry. Folks, forget that. Oregon, hopefully, if they're on the other side of the bracket or same side of the bracket, that they can exact revenge, because that game last year, Oregon they didn't look like the team that we knew. But hey, they made it back, and that's what that matters.
It's very funny. The fact that you had to be reminded that Georgia was playing in this tournament showed how abysmal Georgia's performance was in this tournament. I guess that kind of gives you a hint of who's not in the playoffs this year. But let's talk a little bit more about Oregon in terms of their wins and losses, starting with their big wins that got them into the quarterfinals. Starting with Arizona State, they played at home 43-40. Talk about a close game from Arizona State. I mean, did you suspect that game to be that close coming down to a field goal?
No, not really. I was expecting Oregon to handle that game without much of an issue. The fact that it got to that point showed that Oregon has lost a step or two since the last tournament. And I feel that Arizona State, they played their hearts out, but, it came up short. But at the same time, it shows that maybe Oregon's not as powerful as they used to be.
And you know what? Now that you're making this point, remind yourself that's Arizona State at home, and they barely got it down to a field goal. Then they got their revenge against Georgia. They won that game, but that was 30-28. And then you got UConn, which I was actually shocked that this was a competitive game. Oregon sweated that out. That was 34-27. And then another close game on the road against Boise State, 14-10. I mean, like you mentioned, these are basically squeakers, for the exception of, I guess, the UConn game being their biggest win.
It's the fact that they're allowing teams to hang in it too long. I don't know if it's a case of playing down the competition or it's a case of they're looking past their opponent. But a lot of these games, to be honest with you, BBG, I don't think they should have won. They won these games by the skin of their teeth outside the UConn game.
And now the big tests, right? When they had to face Indiana, the first thing I said was, if Indiana is as legitimate in IRL as they are in, college football 26, either Oregon is going to have a really interesting challenge on their hands that they can manage, or Indiana might do something that we haven't seen. And I wasn't predicting a 41-0 loss, right? Like when Oregon had to face Indiana, I'm thinking if they lose, they'll probably lose by a possession, because I still think that, Oregon's fast-paced offense is something that I don't know if Indiana can handle. Mm-hmm. I was wrong. And then let's look at Notre Dame, right? They lost that, and that was a close one, 34-29. And I didn't think that Oregon should have had a chance to get back in the game. But when they did, they gave it up. So for Oregon, I think that for them to be the 8th seed, I agree with you. They're sneaking in, right? So now that they're in, they made it now. Mm-hmm. Is there a real excuse to say, hey, I expect you back in the semifinals the same way you were in the tournament last year?
I think that's the overall consensus. I think that's what the goal is. I think last year you lost to the eventual national champions, but you didn't play the way that people expect you to play. So I think now you have a second chance to prove that not only you belong in the tournament and in the playoffs now, that you are a national title contender.
Well, let's see what happens, as Oregon will have the opportunity to face off against the top seed in the tournament, which we'll announce shortly. But let's move down to the 7th seed. Arizona State, a team that you made fun of in some capacity.
I didn't make fun of
them. You kind of
him.
had like a jeer type moment.
I didn't make
You're like, who are they?
No, okay, he's over-exaggerated. I merely said, out of the field that we have in front of us, who is the odd person out? You have teams like Ole Miss. You have teams. I have another team here. Now that team, when we get to them, they don't deserve to be here. But we'll talk.
I gotta hear this one.
We'll talk about that when we get there.
Because honestly, I'll give you a clue. It's a team that you really thought, okay, they're very good, but they don't have like the big wins that we would expect. Yes, it's going to be that team if you've been paying attention. But with Arizona State, yes, they made it in. They're 4-2.
Again,
this is their first appearance, mind you, going into the playoffs. Come on, give them their flowers.
I'm not saying, again, compared to the other team, we'll get to them shortly, because looking at their schedule, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is Arizona State's first appearance, am I right?
Yes.
Right. What I'm saying to you is, when you look at the field, I'm going to give you some teams.
Yeah.
Georgia. Right?
Okay.
Deserve to be here, right?
Sure.
It's Georgia, right?
Maybe. I mean, they played like crap this year, but like, sure.
Okay, but the name Georgia. The
name
prestige
brand.
of Georgia. Right.
Okay.
Not, well, more or less, right? Yeah. Cool. Deserve to be here, right? I'm going to give you another team. Ohio State.
Of course.
Right? 2 for 2 so far, right? Texas.
Yeah, they had a great team. They had a great prelim record. They did what they had to do.
3 for 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of those 3 teams, now we get to Arizona State. Now, granted, in real life, they made it to the playoffs last year.
Correct.
Great for them. Correct. I mean, great. But we look at them this year. Let's look at their record. So
yeah,
they beat Bowling Green. This is nothing to write home about. It's fucking Bowling Green. Let's be real here. It's Bowling Green. You know what Bowling Green reminds me of? Side note. You know what Bowling Green reminds me of? Bowling Green reminds me of Fresno State in the inaugural tournament. You know why? And mind you, Bowling Green was in the inaugural tournament too, and the Bowling Green beat the
brakes out of them.
And now look, Bowling Green is the doormat of this goddamn tournament. Anytime you see Bowling Green in the schedule, you know it's a free win.
Well, 40 to 13 is quite a measurable, obvious win.
Okay, so we're gonna write that off because it's Bowling Green. Anybody could be Bowling Green. FCS junior varsity could be Bowling Green. Anyway, BYU. What was the score for that?
34 to 29, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so they sweated that one out, right? Cool. They get it Brown. They got a bye in the last round.
And don't forget Tennessee. That was a win, 13 to 3.
And that was a surprising game because that game I thought was going to be a high-scoring game, turned to be a defensive shootout, which Arizona State lasted out Tennessee. And then they lost to Oregon, which is understandable. It's Oregon.
43-40.
And then Ohio State.
Which was obvious. On the road, too. Like, any team going into Columbus.
But it's Ohio State.
That's rough.
Even God might have a trouble, beating Ohio State. It's Ohio State. They're the world beaters for a reason. But, I mean, come on. Outside of Bowling Green, which is a gimme. All right, Tennessee was hard fought. They got the bye, and then you lose to Oregon, and then, the Ohio State game. It's Ohio State. It's understandable. But come on, look at that schedule. Outside the Ohio State and Oregon game, does that look like a playoff team to you?
I think it is we played our schedule and we did our thing. And I feel that as long as there's a case.
Keep that same energy when I get to that team. Keep that same energy.
Because here's the case. Mm-hmm. Tennessee is a mid-level SEC program. Mm-hmm. So that is still a challenge in some regard, but you're also Arizona State. So that's one can argue that can be a cupcake, but also BYU, right? Like BYU is not a cupcake game.
Is BYU in the playoffs?
Unfortunately, no.
So why does it matter?
I think they also won 3 games. So that's not until or maybe 2 to 3 games. Like, I don't think that's something that we should just be like, but they didn't make it to the playoffs. So
but we're talking about people in the playoffs, and they're not in the playoffs. So
I agree with you, but I do think that there are teams, I would say, that are within like the top 12, right? Because we will mention 2 teams that were the first 2 out. But I also think after that group, there's like 2 more teams, and BYU is kind of in that category. And in that regard, to lose to Oregon, to lose to Ohio State, I would argue those are quality losses, right? The 2 teams that Arizona State lost to are teams that were highly favored to make it into the tournament. Oregon proves that they're the 8th seed. We can both agree that Ohio State is in the playoffs. So they lost to 2 really good teams that have advanced. So for them to be 7th and they got their 4 wins, look, man, they've earned the right to be here. Now, whether they win the quarterfinals and make it to the semifinals, well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Right? So let's go to the next team.
We'll talk about now from 7th to now the 6th seed, and it's going to be Ole Miss. Ole Miss, our 3rd team with a 4-win, 2-loss record. They were in the tournament last year, but were unable to make it to the playoffs.
Unable is an understatement. He's sugarcoating it. Ole Miss was horrible last year. Wretched. Even worse than I can't even say Fresno State, because Ohio State was ranked in real life last year, and they lost every single game they had. They took it to the wire against fucking Tulane. And Tulane beat them.
But you know what? That's why we need to give Ole Miss some respect on their name. They have transformed themselves from being a team that have lost every single game last year to now making it to the tournament with a 6th seed in the playoffs. I mean, look, I will say their record in terms of the types of wins that they've had are, question signs. But let's go through
AKA them. Cupcake? Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay, well, let's start with the first one.
Okay.
Ole Miss beats Boise State 41-38. That's not a cupcake game.
I'm not saying that.
So we can agree on that.
Okay.
Western Kentucky.
Cupcake.
37-9.
It's Western Kentucky. Enough said.
Louisiana.
Enough said.
35-24.
You sweating out against Louisiana?
And okay, so you're going to say that with Tennessee.
No, Tennessee, you just said they are a formidable team program in the SEC. Win or loss from that team doesn't make you look bad. It's Tennessee.
Well, I would say, because Ole Miss plays in the SEC with Tennessee, I do agree I expect you to win that because you are the better program.
Right, but it wasn't like they won convincingly,
right?
But it wasn't a situation where it was like, okay, they was playing with a team that like Louisiana. There should be no reason why you were having Louisiana hang on.
So you think that is a not so quality win?
Here's
the question: which of these two wins is the least of quality, like the worst of quality? Western Kentucky 37-9 or Louisiana 35-24?
Louisiana.
You think Western Kentucky is a more impressive win over Louisiana?
Yes, because you're supposed to beat up Western Kentucky. You're not supposed to have Louisiana hang on by a score. Look at the Western Kentucky score, 37-9. The game was probably over by halftime. And they just did what they had to do, ran the ball, did what they had to do, whatever, right? Cool, you're supposed to beat up Western Kentucky. It's the fucking Hilltoppers. You let Louisiana hang on till you basically won by a possession. That's it.
Well,
that should have been that score we saw. West Kentucky, Louisiana should have been the same score, but doubled.
All right, I will say though, Louisiana is not a great team in this tournament, but that's not to say that Louisiana is not a good team. Period. Let us not forget they've qualified through their conference tournament. I don't think that they're just like, a wasted team that earned their way in. I think that
there's plenty of teams that earn a one-day way in and they still stink. They just played against better competition. Remember, all these teams that qualified played within their conference to get in.
Okay, so you're basically saying that their quality of a conference championship to get in isn't as quality as the big power whatever. I mean, look, I do agree that everyone's road to the tournament differs. But at the end of the day, when you're facing only the best teams of everyone's
it's gonna show that if you belong,
then I wouldn't be so tough on this Louisiana win. I mean, a win is a win. B, I think the pressure on Ole Miss, knowing that if you're hitting these teams, you have to beat them with this really astronomical amount to show that they're dominant. I think that pressure is unnecessary for any team that's in the tournament.
Okay,
you win.
So let's backtrack. So would you have that same mindset if Arizona State barely beat Bowling Green?
I think that if Arizona State barely defeated Bowling Green, I would say, fellas, ugly win. But guess what? That was a game, first game of the season, I guess the first game home game, and pressures can occur. The rust can be there. But at the end of the day, was that a W? Did they get the win?
No, I'm not denying the win. But how you
Did they get the win on Louisiana to avoid humiliation? Yes. And they did it in a very decent fashion.
Decent? You only won by a possession.
Yes, which is what you need to win. So I think that the win
we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
I think the win quality debate when it comes to certain teams is so overblown, but that's my opinion.
Like I said, we can agree to disagree. We're not, right.
So let's proceed. Here's our top seed in terms of the bottom four. That's the 5th seed. And this guy, of many teams that he would crack jokes on, this should not be a surprise. The team you didn't even recognize belonged in the tournament.
I didn't realize they were here.
Were just winning games when they needed to and got there.
That's what you call
fifth seed.
That's what you call wins?
5th seed belongs to Oregon State.
Who?
Representing the Pac-12. This is the.
You mean the conference that don't really exist, but exist?
Yes, the conference that had only 2 players in their conference tournament, and it was Washington State against Oregon State.
They didn't even win the conference. They tied it. How do you tie with it? Anyway,
so this is their first appearance in the playoffs.
Yes.
And their wins, they defeated Louisiana 49-14, Army 34-31. They beat Tennessee on the road, which is not an easy feat, 38-36. And finally, they defeated Bowling Green 44-24. You okay?
Yeah, because he's been rolling off these shits like it's great.
I think these are good wins. They got 4 wins. They managed to make it here and a decent 15. I guess with the way you're operating right now, my question to you is this overrated? Are they the most overrated team in this team?
Yes! No, without a doubt. Okay, cool. You want to roll off their wins? What about roll off those losses? Let's look at that Fresno State loss. Read that score.
41-17.
And they were at home and got blown out at home to a team that lost every game in their last appearance.
Different Fresno State team, though. So
anyway, go back to how they lost. Go back to that
expectation. Wait, no. I love how you go into this fashion, but we act like these teams are all the same.
I never said they were the same.
I'm making it clear they're not, because the Fresno State team of last year, Oregon would probably have flipped that and turned it into a massive win. But we're talking about a totally different Fresno State team, which is obvious, right? They won 5 games, right? We can't assume that this was something that was expected to be an easy win for an up-and-coming team that has demonstrated their dominance. And come on, man, Ohio State, barely any team in the country can beat them.
We need to see that.
Hey, they got 3 points off of the number 1 team, now number 2.
Okay, can you scroll down? We need to see the result.
What result?
For the Ohio State game.
44-3. They got 3 points. That could have been a blowout.
It was a blowout.
I'm talking about like a shutout, 44-0.
If you were held to,
you got some points off of them.
I'm not doing this semantic stuff. If you got held to single-digit points and your team scored almost 50 they dropped damn near 50 on you, it's a blowout. Enough with the semantic shit. Enough. This team don't deserve to be here. Oh wow, you beat Bowling Green 44-24. Quality win there, buddy. Oh wow, you blew out Louisiana. Quality win there, buddy. Oh wow, you beat Army. Get the fuck out of here, man. I can't wait till we get to the matchup so I can see who they match up against. And I guarantee you, I hate using this word, but I'm going to use one of your favorite words. Chalk. It don't even matter who they play. It don't even matter.
Well, here we are now with our top 4 teams. These are teams that will receive a home field advantage going into the quarterfinals. Starting with the 4th seed, that belongs to Texas. They're coming back from a national semifinal finish in last year's CFT, and the road to their journey stemmed from a win against UConn, 48-24, a win against Army, 20-13, Ole Miss, 24-16, and Georgia, 24-16, with Western Kentucky being their 5th win. And that was a big smackdown, like 62-16.
And that's not even the highest point margin.
No, it's not.
That team would win by. We'll get to that shortly.
I believe.
I think it would be the second.
No.
Really?
This is why they're the top 4 teams. Within the top 4 teams, there are records for 4th, 3rd, and of course the 1st top winning, total points in a single game records. And I'll tell you right now, this is probably the 4th largest, or in terms of the 4th biggest. As we go into other teams, it's going to go all the way into, again, the 70s. So with Texas, what do you think is the worst quality win that you see?
Oh, that's easy. It's Western Kentucky.
All right, best one.
I mean, the reason why I said it because it's Western Kentucky. If you can't throw up at least 40 points on Western Kentucky, something is seriously wrong.
I know I get you there, but what I'm saying is best quality win.
Oh, that would be Georgia.
I mean, to beat them 24-16 at home, that's a pressure type of game.
I mean, you beat the defending national champion. It don't matter where you guys are at. The fact that you beat them on the road, you went to Athens and beat them in Athens.
No. They played at home.
Oh, I'm sorry. You played at DKR. Sorry. That's not it's the fact you beat the national champions. You beat them. And that can give you a lot of momentum going on the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to look at one loss that they had, and that was against, and that was against Notre Dame. They lost by a single point, 20-19. Tough loss, but I mean, what does that do for you when you lose a close game like that, especially that late in the tournament?
I think at this point you really want to be more critical in terms of, one, how did we get the game to get this close? Two, what was the obvious, elephant in the room type issue that was ignored, in terms of both the offense and defensive personnel? And what were the decisions that were being made by the head coaches that made basic mistakes, especially coming from Texas, right? A simple reason why they could have made this score totally shift the other way. Like, even if it was to be close, I could see why Texas could have won this game against Notre Dame, but they needed to close doors more offensively in the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't get it done.
It's funny
they miscalculated the whole fourth quarter.
It's funny that you mentioned it because this is what happened to them last year when they lost in the semifinals.
They collapsed in the fourth quarter.
I wouldn't even say collapse. Remember, it was a single-digit game all the way through the last possession when they gave the game away. It was a defensive battle the entire game, and they lost to Washington.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, it was the semifinals, but you still lost, and you lost by a single digit.
Well, look,
hopefully they learned their lesson, and because you can't. We're at the stage now when it's one and done. There is no second game. There's no third game. You lose, you're gone. So you got to come correct.
Well, I think that the wins that they've had against quality teams and somewhat quality teams, and even the loss by just one against Notre Dame, that should give them the mental momentum to take on their challenge as they try to face their first opponent in the playoffs. Now we move on to the third seed.
Yes.
And I think this is a very proud moment.
Yes.
Because this is the same team that the last time we even saw them at this point, they were in the 2014 CFT tournament. We would like to announce that Fresno State, the 5-win, 1-loss team, will be the third seed, appearing in the playoffs for the very first time.
I mean, what is not to say? I mean, we beat this over the head with a dead horse every time. They came into the inaugural tournament and lost every single game. The only game that they were close by was the Maryland game, which ended up going to overtime. They still lost.
Yeah, you referenced that a lot.
Because it was the closest game they had throughout the entire tournament. Yeah. There were some games they lost to Bowling Green, for Christ's sakes. Bowling Green. But, they were a doormat in that trying tournament. They didn't make 2013. They didn't make last year. But they made it this year. And they came out swinging. I mean, to see how this team has progressed, to see how this team has come, it's amazing. It's amazing to see. Let's look at their wins. Anyway, they beat SMU.
Whoa. Okay, so first off, Fresno State gets a win on the road against Oregon State, 41-17. Why would you skip that?
Because it's Oregon State. Anyway.
No, that's not fair. I mean, again, this is a team that 5th seed in the tournament. They won their conference, although they only had to face one team, and it was Washington State. Okay, sure. But they beat the teams that were in front of them 4 times.
I can beat the team that's in front of them if I had that schedule.
Well, you know what? They are in the tournament. So is Fresno State. And we should acknowledge that was one of their wins. And SMU, go ahead.
Well, the SMU game, honestly, they should have lost that game. They should be 5-2, to be honest with you.
You mean 4-2?
Right, sorry. They should be 4-2. I apologize for that. Because they had no business winning that game. Not only did they make costly time management issues, but the only reason why they lost is because SMU kicker can't kick for shit and missed 2 chip shot field goals. He doinked one of them. No, he doinked both for them.
Kind of sounds like that Indiana-Ohio State game.
We'll get to that.
IRL game.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But the kicker doinked twice. And that's the only reason why they won that game. And that was on the road. So yeah, they escaped that win. They beat the dog crap out of Western Kentucky because again, it's Western Kentucky. They dog walked UConn, no pun intended, 51-3.
And they're both dogs because the Huskies.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I see what you did there. Yeah. They escaped Clemson. Well, I wouldn't say escaped Clemson. They beat Clemson, but that was another game that they.
What game makes you more upset? The Clemson game?
Oh, that SMU game. That SMU game because they had no business winning that game. They had no business winning. Clemson defense. Fresno State's defense won them that game because Gillian and Donaldson did not show up that Clemson game. Their defense won them that game. The SMU game, they had no business winning that game. They like I said, the fact that the only reason why they won because of 2 missed field goals was just, and like I said, if they would have managed the clock better, then they wouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
Again, Western Kentucky's Western Kentucky. The one game that surprised me was the BYU game because I thought they had that game well in hand, and once again, another game where Donaldson and
didn't show up,
and by the time Donaldson showed up, it was too late.
Fourth quarter doesn't matter when you're allowing your defense to collapse to the point where how many interceptions did we see?
I think it was like 2.
Yeah, man.
But I can't even say that because their defense kept them in the game. Because remember, they got 2. They got that one fumble with a minute to go left in the game. They had a chance to win the game, and they turned the ball over twice.
Yeah.
You got gifted 2. Yeah. You got gifted 2 opportunities
and you let
to win the game, and you let it slip through your fingers. So they should have won that BYU game, and who knows if they didn't win that BYU, they would have been undefeated. Yeah. But the Clemson game, like I said, their defense bailed them out, and the SMU game they had no business winning. So I don't know. I'm still proud of them. The fact that they're top seeded.
So what is the most quality win of Fresno's 5 wins?
Oh man, see, and
so you're going for. I would argue with everything you're saying,
it'd be the Clemson game.
I would say SMU.
I wouldn't say quad because again, it's the way they won that game. They didn't win. They escaped. Let's be
neither
real
of these teams are ranked. But I still think that SMU's tough defense, I thought that was to be expected to be a challenge for Fresno State, and they were able to overcome it. I think that if anything, that is something that we often underestimate. Now, don't get me wrong, SMU, I think they were pretty mediocre at this tournament, but they're not a mediocre team. And I think we underestimate teams.
Like they were just playing against
the Mustangs were as good as they can be, which means if we are seeing a different Fresno State, SMU did their job. They lost, but they did what they had to do.
No, I'm just saying it's just SMU, once they got into a tournament, they played against better competition. Well, yeah. And it showed that, maybe they don't belong here. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They just played against better teams. Now, I don't want to say this before we move on. It's the last thing I'm going to say, and I just want to get your opinion on it. Do you honestly think, I can't believe I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a comparison. Looking at Oregon State, just seeing that name just makes you throw up in my mouth. Oregon State's record and Fresno State record.
Yeah.
Looking at both their wins and losses, do you honestly think that Fresno State had a cupcake walk to the playoffs?
Against Oregon State, I would say that Fresno State at least had 3 teams that were legitimate threats for them to lose. I think that the Clemson game was a threat. Facing a SEC team, even if they're at the low level, that's not something that we underestimate. And they were able to get that done. We talked about SMU. That's a team that shows some level of a challenge. That's a quality win. If you look at those 2 wins and even the BYU loss, because the BYU loss, I believe this team ended as a 3-win, 3-loss team. And it wasn't a blowout. They only lost by 8. It was 16-8.
Right. So, and the one thing I'll give Fresno State, they were able to avenge their loss against Western Kentucky because Western Kentucky gave them their first loss in the inaugural tournament. So now,
I feel like with all of that, it's fair for me to say that Oregon State relatively had more of the cupcake type of schedule. Yes, Oregon State also had an SEC team. They defeated Tennessee, a close one, 38-36. But they also had they had a devastatingly bad loss, let's be honest. They got demolished and they managed to get points on the board against Ohio State. That's still a quality team to try to keep themselves up to speed with. But then again, Oregon State, if you're going to try to win a tournament, then you're going to have to hold yourself even stronger against teams like Ohio State. So to me, Oregon State might have the cupcake schedule because the only two real teams, technically half the teams that you were facing were real teams that you couldn't beat but one, and that was Tennessee. The other two real teams that you needed to get done, you got demolished, right? Like getting demolished by a Fresno State coming out of the woodwork, that's bad. And that's even more embarrassing because even let's suppose a world where Fresno State was mid. I would assume that this would be nearly a close-ass game. And you would still have to make the argument, well, Oregon State, you're so good. Why was this game that damn close?
Yeah.
In this case, they couldn't even get it done, right? And then you got Ohio State. Again, with a team, any team, 99% of the teams in the whole FBS have a very low probability of beating this Ohio State team.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And to get anything off of them, that's an achievement of itself if you're Oregon State.
Yeah, so, like I said, back to, as we close out the Fresno State part, we're going to say we're proud of Fresno State. When we get to the matchups, I have a bone to pick with BVG because he had some choice words to say about Fresno State and one of our extra time games. So we're going to get to that. So now we're going to move on to, I would call them the world beaters of the CFT and in real life, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
They are the first of the two undefeated teams that will make up the Elite Eight. They represent the second seed. This is their first time making it into a CFT playoff, and they're playing in excellent fashion. They've won all their games, starting with, first off, a face crush against Louisiana at home, 66-17. And their first relatively tough challenge was a close one against Penn State, 10-7. Came down to a close field goal.
I think that was the only close game they had during the tournament.
And then they went in at South Bend against Notre Dame, 51-13, and stayed within that lane in terms of demolishing teams with high scores. Oregon State, 44-3. Arizona State, 44-13. And at Army, 28-6.
Yeah, Ohio State, like I said, I dubbed them the world beaters for a reason. They have been basically bulldozing their way through the tournament outside of the Penn State game. And they are, maybe to me and BVG, probably one of the odds-on favorites to not only make it to the finals, but to win it all because they just looked unstoppable throughout this tournament. I don't know, honestly, if there's any team, maybe one, that can match up fairly against this team.
Well, look, we mentioned that of the top four teams, these are teams that are defeating their opponents with such high-scoring games. I mean, if you look at, for example, Ohio State facing Louisiana, 66-17. Getting 66 off of any team, I believe that is the second highest in the entire CFT history of a game. And that's not even the craziest part. You had Notre Dame. You got 51 off of Notre Dame. That's not a cupcake program. And for you to pull that off, that's beast. I mean, even Arizona State, again, you think they're overrated. I think that's a team that is a legit threat coming off of a last year run that was quite good. I mean, to get 44 off of them. So
can't call somebody a threat and they drop 44 on you.
I'm just saying, Arizona State wasn't ready for it, but Arizona State is not a terrible program either. So my question to you, I asked you this previously, what is the best quality win? What is the worst quality win?
I think the best win would be the Notre Dame game. And they don't have any losses, so we can't even say quality. They don't have any losses. But I think the best quality win would be the Notre Dame game. And they won that convincingly. It wasn't even close. So, I mean, the only game that really took them to the wire would be the Penn State game because they only won that game by 3. Everything else, they're blowing these teams out by 20, by 30 points. So it's like, it's not even, sometimes even by 40. So it's not even a situation where it's like, okay, all these games are coming down to the wire. All these games, they're winning by field goals or a last-minute heroic touchdown. No, these games are over by halftime. At one point, the Louisiana game was over by the second quarter.
Yeah.
That's not good. Like, what do you do as a team when you're getting blown out by 30 and it's not even halftime yet? It's embarrassing. Right. But on the other side of that spectrum, you're on cruise control. You think you could do no wrong. You're blowing teams out convincingly. Everybody's firing on the quarterback, the running team, special teams, the corners, the wide receivers, the tight ends. Everybody's on the same page, and that's a dangerous combination. When you have the coach and the team on the same page, that's a deadly, and I mean deadly combination. I don't think, besides this next team, could be the one.
The Hoosiers.
Yes.
The Hoosiers.
The most surprising team.
Indiana. Let us not forget. We've seen this before. They were national champions.
The inaugural.
They are now the top seeded Indiana Hoosiers. They are 6-0 as they appear as the top team going into the round of 8.
Yes, the Hoosiers, they are the first ever inaugural CFT national champions. They won it back at the 2014 CFT.
They only had 8 teams back then.
Only had 8, and they won it all. I mean, what can I say about this team? They not only proved that they deserve to be here, but they're looking to be the first team in CFT history to win 2 national champions, and they're halfway there. But let's just look at these wins. I mean,
these wins are crazy. When I first looked back at how Indiana got to 6 wins, Oregon
got shut out.
The first game of the series, and you shut them out 41-0.
It wasn't even close.
That is scary.
And it's sad. And the crazy part is, if they really wanted to, they could have won by more.
That is scary. And that's a Big Ten normal conference game.
And like I said, if they really wanted to, Indiana could have won by even more.
Boise State, 45-3 at home. Bowling Green, the sliders were low on this one. 70-0. The biggest win
in the history
of the CFC. And the biggest deficit. You lost by 70, bro.
We called this game. To be honest with you, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. This game was over by the open kickoff. It was over by when they kicked the ball off, the game was over. Bowling Green was outmatched, outplayed, outthunk, outcoached. Anything that's out, that's what happened to them.
That's what was in for them.
It was an embarrassment to call that game, and we called that game.
Yeah, we had to.
It was no, we didn't. It was an embarrassment.
No, we did.
No, we didn't. We didn't have to call that game.
You could have just walked off, but you didn't.
Yeah. Because you made me do it. I didn't have a choice. I'm not the play-by-play guy. You are.
Gun pointed at his head, right?
So why did we watch it?
I love watching car wrecks. I don't know about you. I love.
I don't. I like to keep. See, it's people like you why there's traffic jams because you got. I wonder what happened out here.
You're like the meme that's like, stop it. He's already dead.
I'm not saying that. I already knew he was dead by the first punch. When I need to go to no, you cause traffic jams. I wonder what's going on over there. Let me see. Oh, okay. Well, no, just keep going. You're not part of it. Go.
I just think that if it's burning in front of you, you can't help but to look.
No, it's easy. Okay, cool. Anyway, moving on. It's Bowling Green.
Ole Miss.
49.
A challenge. That was it.
What?
I mean, they're hitting up against a legit.
Anyway, they beat SMU. I'm not doing this with you. They beat SMU 38-0. Because I'm not about to do this with you. No. So we are too far into this for you to be like, oh man, that's a hard. I need to catch myself.
I caught him.
If you no.
Go ahead.
If you are getting held to single-digit points, it is a blowout. Don't listen to what he has to say. Don't say, well, they got points in the boys. That's what. No.
It seems like, come on, when you are a team that have no chance,
you're about to waste time and justify
of winning a game, and you manage to get 3 against them. Come on.
Oh, okay.
You know why?
Keep that. No, I got something for you.
Think like a coach.
Continue. Go ahead. I got something for you.
Coach of a program that we have no business being involved, and we're still able to at least try to demonstrate we got a pulse. Come on, man. That is something.
A pulse?
Against a team that is meant to shut you out. At least they couldn't take that away. I mean, like, come on. You look at a team like that and you go, oh, they're a cupcake.
In real life.
The assumption is that you're supposed to get them at 0, right?
I didn't say that.
Well, it didn't happen.
Never said that.
I
never said that. I never said that. Put a pin in that. In real life, UMass, one of the worst college football teams ever put assembled.
I don't think this
got blown out. No, you know where I'm going with this.
It's not the same.
They were being blown out 45-3. These motherfuckers had the audacity to shoot off fireworks after they scored 3 points.
Yes, you know why? Because when you're the worst team in FBS, you have to take some.
FBS is the worst football team, period.
You have to take some victories. This is a program that was truthfully an FCS program that made it into the transition of being in the bowl series. And come on, man, growing pains. Say that, give me that same type of attitude with programs like Georgia Southern when they came out of the FCS, played in the FBS. Their transition wasn't as smooth as other programs. I'm going to give them some sort of benefit here.
I have a perfect example. Well, that's bullshit. James Madison.
Okay.
Look at their transition. And
well, come on. No one thought Indiana would have done that transition in 2 years either. But
no. We're talking
here we are.
Indiana's been in the same conference since 1967. We're talking about a team that transitioned from FCS to FBS. And James Madison made that same thing, and now they're in the playoffs in real life. Save me the bullshit. Knock it off.
I don't know.
Knock it off.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think.
I'm not giving you no slack because you score. That's you know how embarrassing it is to watch on TV to see a team shooting off fireworks and you're losing 45-3.
You know why I don't think that it's a big deal and why you're overhyping this? It's simple. Because if the assumption is that certain people don't belong here, if that premise is true, then the assumption also should conclude that, yeah, well, if we face you because you don't belong here, this should be the easiest. You should have no points. So if that's the case, then guess what? You all didn't do your job.
No.
They should be. No. You know why this logic is true? Because in IRL, that's why Indiana's the top team in the country. Because if you know that you can beat a team by 30, by 40 points, why the hell would you not allow for 0 points? That would be the goal.
Points wouldn't matter because you're getting blown out anyway.
No, you make sure that they don't have an inch of a possibility of putting points on the board. The other team managed to figure it out. For instance, Ole Miss against Indiana. I mean, Ole Miss is not a cupcake team. And Indiana is playing hot at this point. If Ole Miss was only able to get 3 points, knowing that Indiana just blown out Indiana, did what they had to do against Boise State, had the biggest deficit of a win ever, getting 70 points off of Bowling Green, and Ole Miss was able to get 3 off of a red-hot Indiana team? Of course I would say that is something that you should be proud of, because that's not a walk in the park. What am
I going to be proud of? I still lost by 40.
Simple, because at the end of the day, it wasn't 42 or 43.
Lord. I'm not about to.
No. You, as a coach, you have to figure out how do you get your team inspired after such a loss. They know they lost. They know that. These kids, I hope, know how to read and count. Because they're in college. This is not the NFL.
When I used to say that doesn't matter.
You know why? Because if it's so much of a big deal for them to act like adults, then you go watch the NFL. These are kids that are playing high-level football. So if they go and they have this attitude of, you know what, you lost, and you know what, that's it. Come on.
No.
There are some takeaways that you can give that is positive, that can be helpful.
There's a difference between losing and getting dog walked.
But they know that. That's my point. No one is contesting whether or not they got destroyed. It's obvious. But if you're not taking away learning opportunities to not allow this to happen again in a future game, as a coach, that's what you should be looking at. That's how big leaders, when they have moments where their teams are getting face crushed and you have to figure out a way to come around, maybe in a future game, maybe even as early as a quarter or maybe in a half, but that varies. The point is, how do you expect teams to improve if you're not taking some attribute to say, well, thank God for our fucking special teams. Thank you for the damn field goal that we need to at least get on the board, because the offense had to do something to get there.
Yes, and let's do that 35 more times.
Sure, the defense gave up 49 points. Yes, that's obviously terrible. Yes, there are some ugly moments coming from Bowling Green's quarterback. Yes, we know. Or in Ole Miss, same thing in that situation with mad picks. That is what we've seen. But I'm not going to just piss on what little opportunity of success they had, because getting 3 points off of a red-hot Indiana when they've blown out three teams, that's not an easy thing to do.
Knock it the fuck off.
I disagree.
I'm not doing this with you. No.
Yeah, because you know I'm right.
You're not right.
3 teams you blown out. And you could have been a 4th victim, and you didn't.
You are a victim. You lost by 40 points.
No one is contesting the obvious, man. That's the thing. I think there's like cognitive dissonance going on here. We are not contesting whether it's a blowout. There's a difference between stating the obvious about whether it's a blowout. We know what a blowout looks like. But here's the point. If Ole Miss was so bad, Indiana, you're the top seed. Why did you allow 3 points? That's something your coach would say. Or tell me I'm wrong. Tell me the coach from Indiana. Tell me, no. Don't give me that happy shit. Tell me the coach.
Let me finish my sentence.
Tell me if the coach, let me finish the question. Tell me if the coach from Indiana would accept the fact that even though they won by 45 points, that 3 wouldn't be a blemish to what they should. Exactly.
No.
So why can't...
No. I would not sit here if I was Chiganti. You think I'm going to be mad because we won by 45 points?
He would be pissed that it wasn't 49.
Please, knock it the fuck off.
That's why they're the top seed in real life.
Knock it off.
Any person that's watching this, I bet you money that they would agree.
No.
Because at the end of the day, if you're seeking perfection, you don't get blemishes.
No.
If you're able to pull off
You have perfection. You're undefeated.
Well, for Ole Miss to get 3 off of a red-hot Indiana, yeah, it was terrible that
Hey, guys,
it could have been worse.
Hey, guys, we scored 3 points, so we only lost by 45 and not 50. Get the fuck out of here, man.
That's why they separate the real coaching from everyone's speculation.
Get out of here.
Any real coach.
Stop speculation.
Any real coach.
We called that game. We called that game.
Any real coach.
Did you have that same mindset when we called that game? No, you didn't.
Any real coach would have the gumption to be smart enough to figure out how do you take a negative and motivate into a positive for future games. Because if you don't know how to do that, how the hell do you think these teams are going to get better?
I would have that mindset if I know we're already going to the playoffs. I would tell them if I was
okay. There's a world where they may not.
Let me finish. I let you talk. Let me finish. If I was Ole Miss, we're going to playoffs, right? I know we're locked in. I would still be upset we got blown the hell out, but I would tell them you can't have this happen again. That score right there. What the
hell is that?
No, I'm talking. If Ole Miss was a team that wasn't in the playoffs,
I think that's bad messaging.
What is bad messaging?
I think it's bad messaging to be like, and slap on the wrist. Don't do it again. What the fuck type of messaging are you telling your team when they need to be motivated? No one gives a
How
fuck.
can I motivate
no
you to
one
get
gives
blown
a,
up by
no
45
one
points?
gives a fuck about that. What's going to end up happening when you say shit like this is that no one's going to find motivation from their head coach to be able to move on. Yes, 3 points may be minutely fucking minuscule. I'll concede that. But if I'm a coach that has to motivate my team to not get themselves on this, well, we already lost. I'm like,
Do better. Play better. If you did that, you wouldn't be in this situation.
Get the 3 points that you got and look at it as, all right, well, how can we make sure that when we are getting into these situations that we cannot
You
get
shouldn't be in
blown
a
out
situation in
again?
the first place.
Look, Indiana wasn't a team that Ole Miss could just simply say, yeah, that's our job, to beat Indiana. Who the fuck are they? Who the fuck are they? So my thing is that if Ole Miss was already seen as a, well, you know what? They're getting the fucking work done by Indiana, at least they can walk out with some damn dignity. Like, take something. These are kids that need to understand what's walking up with your head high. At least you got a field goal off of them. Like, thank God for special teams. But of course, you don't want to see that.
We're gonna have, again, it's another situation we're gonna have to get into this.
I don't know.
We need to move on because we spent too much time on this. We need to get to the matchup.
Indiana is going to be the top seeded team after all of what's been said. And not to mention, we have some news in terms of what our actual matchups are going to look like. Starting with the first one, this is going to be the 5th seeded Oregon State versus 4th seeded Texas. I'm going to be taking Texas for this win. I don't really see why Texas, that's playing really hot right now, I mean, never mind the loss, but outside of that, I can't see why Oregon State has a chance against Texas when Arch Manning is able to do what he has to do. He can really make some noise.
I mean, they shouldn't even be here in the first place, but now we're going to find out that why they should be in the first place, because Texas is going to dog walk them. Next.
All right, so what are we looking out for that game, at least, before we go to the next team?
I'm thinking Archer's going to go the fuck off, and he's probably going to score for at least 3 or 4 touchdowns, at the very least, and that's minimum.
I think that Oregon State's going to try to do what they needed to do in the past 2 games and push Texas to a situation where, can you handle a turbo-style offense against Oregon State? They're a fast-paced team, but they got to start making some completed passes more with their quarterback. I feel like if they're really that serious about being a threat in their passing game, then the quarterback has to go off against Texas. Now, let's take a look at our second matchup. It's going to be our 6th-seeded Ole Miss playing against Fresno State. I'm going to be a bit upfront. I think that this is going to be the biggest test for Fresno State.
Oh my God! I think that again with this,
and I think that for Fresno State, the fact that they got exposed against BYU, I don't think. I'm not done. I think that this is going to be the moment that is going to be a game over for Fresno State. I think Ole Miss, y'all are sleeping on Ole Miss. I think that as a 6-seeded team, that makes you relatively a threat. In this particular situation, I don't see a situation where Ole Miss is going to get blown out by Fresno State. That's not going to happen.
I would.
And I will even go as far as to say that if Ole Miss wins against Fresno State, I think it's going to be a damn good game, but it's going to be a close one. I predict it's going to be Ole Miss 17, Fresno State 14.
For the last couple of weeks, BVG has been going on this test crusade with Fresno State, thinking that, they didn't beat anybody and this is the ultimate test.
Again, Fresno State.
Oh God.
Again, you were talking, what's their quality win?
Clemson.
All right, continue.
Anyway, he's been saying for the last, I let you talk, right?
Go ahead.
He's been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks that Fresno State hasn't played anyone, and they had a cupcake schedule, and they moonwalked their way into the playoffs.
Because Clemson challenge.
Anyway, I look at it from 2 sides of the glass. I look at the old Fresno State, and I look at the new Fresno State. I look at the old Fresno State, and BVG has every right to clown, make fun of, shit on, whatever, because they were poverty program, and they were a doormat of the tournament. Now we look at the other side of the glass, and now outside of the one loss they had, they have won every single game. Some games were over by halftime. I mean, between the running back which I've dubbed them, Gillian and Dawson, yeah, they had a couple of off games. I will concede to that. But when they were on, they were on. I mean, these guys were trading touchdowns back and forth like it was ping pong. It was so embarrassing at one point. I'm thinking they're going to break these damn school records. So, yes, the last 2 games, they kind of disappeared. Donaldson tried to get back into form. And also, we do have to remember, Gillian was dealing with an injury. Multiple injuries in one game. And he still finished.
Issues with his ribs to his...
And he still finished the game. Issues. So I can understand why he wasn't really involved as much in the BYU game, because the last game he was in, he was dealing with multiple... The Clemson game, he had multiple injuries. So I'm not going to sit and say, they just flat out disappeared.
More of a reason why I would be concerned if one of your best players can't stay healthy against a really tough.
When you're carrying an entire program,
that should be a concern, right?
When you're carrying a program on your back,
that's a reason why Fresno State would win. Like this is what's so confusing.
And what happened when they decided to throw the ball? They, won the game.
I honestly think.
Do we want to go back to the Clemson game?
I think that Fresno State, it's fucking Clemson. I think.
Now it's Clemson now.
All I gotta say for Fresno State is it's impressive that you were able to pull off.
No, you're not about to.
Not surprised that they got shut out.
You're not doing this. I know what you're going with this.
But you are done here. I think that your train.
I know it.
Stop at the quarterfinals. I think that you have demonstrated that your program has had a night and day transformation. And I think that you will probably make your way back here next year, because I think that coming out of conference, you're going to be one of those teams that can still make it to a final round, maybe even sneak in from the runner-up cup. So I see a route for Fresno State in future CFTs, but Fresno State is going to finally demonstrate that they can beat a pretty high-level Ole Miss team.
Yeah,
the high-level SEC team.
Yeah, the same Ole Miss team.
Word?
The same Ole Miss team that shit the bed in every game last year.
I mean, sure, but they're not in that position anymore. That's
and Fresno State's not in a position to shit the bed too.
Right, but I don't think
Two teams that are looking for redemption.
I don't think that you...
What a storyline. 2 teams that shut the bed in their respective tournaments of now coming together to prove one thing.
And you still couldn't get it done against BYU. And I still think
we're not talking about BYU. We're talking about these 2 teams who in their respective tournaments shot the bed, and now they're looking for redemption.
Yeah, and I don't think that Fresno State's going to get it done. I think that last round was very clear.
So let me get this straight. You have more faith. So let me get this straight.
SMU exploited you, and BYU could have easily made it worse. And so I don't know where you're at in terms of whether you can beat a high caliber team.
So let me get this straight.
Don't let the 6th seed fool you. I think that's an illusion.
Wow.
It's an illusion.
Let me see if I understand this. You have more faith in Oregon State than you do Fresno State?
No, I'm saying, well, first off, we're talking about Ole Miss, because that's the 6 versus 3 seed.
Because you made fun of me when I told them they don't deserve to be here.
Well, I'm saying that Ole Miss is going to not make this game a walk in the park for Fresno State. And
I'm not expecting them
this
to.
game is going to be pretty close.
I'm expecting this game to be a defensive battle.
I don't think, but I honestly think that their offense is going to be an issue. If your running backs are constantly going to be a problem for you, and your passing game and it's not.
Just had 2 games.
So hold on, I'm not done. If your running game shuts down and your passing game is relatively mid, how are you supposed to beat Ole Miss? Explain that to me. Right? Oh, our defense is great. Yeah, and they beat you by a field goal. Like, you lose. This is not a preliminary game. You're one, you're done. And I don't see... if this was like a round 2 matchup and Fresno State loses, then it's not a big fucking deal. But in a national quarterfinal, if one game decides everything, this is not a coin flip. I think that the 6th seed is a very misleading seed. I think that they should be a lot higher. And honestly, they're going to be the upset.
I honestly think that you're underestimating Fresno State, and I think you're looking past them, and I think they're gonna prove you wrong. Who knows? They can come in and shock you, or the status quo can remain.
They'll just be like, oh, See, the obvious outcome. Let's go into now our third of the 4 quarterfinal games. And this time it's the 7th seed, Arizona State, going up against the 2nd seeded Ohio State. Well, one word I didn't say until now. Chalk.
Chalk.
It is the C word. I think that it's obvious that Ohio State is going to give Arizona a lesson on how to deal with the Big Ten, and Arizona State's going to have a really tough time responding. And again, I'm going to use my example that the other guy doesn't like. If they can get at least 3 points off of them,
anyway, Oregon,
with their heads high.
I'm not doing this with you. Anyway, Oregon, because we're going to fight Art for another 20 minutes, and we ain't got that type of time. Oregon will be away against the number 1 seed, Indiana. Now, we already know how this could go, but I'm sorry, I got to go with the hot hand. I got to go with Indiana here.
No way Oregon's winning this. They already beat them once. This is going to be another slap in the face again.
I wouldn't call it the C word, but it's still going to be a convincing win for Indiana.
It's chalk. I think that
I'm not doing that. I wouldn't say that.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute.
You want to try to find some
Did Indiana not face Oregon in the tournament? Next, the first two.
Whoa, time out.
Yeah,
There's nothing to say there.
Time out. You think that Oregon's going to be transformative and have a chance to get Indiana smoking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I honestly think that. You see me trying to...
You hear this guy?
So
he's saying the 8th seeded Oregon is going to upset the top seeded
We've seen upsets before. Get the fuck out. No. Knock it off, BBG. Knock it off. Let me say this before we move on.
Because you are very much confused.
No, I'm not doing what I'm not.
How the hell is a team like Oregon?
Oh my God.
Who barely beat Georgia, who barely beat Arizona State, who barely beat Boise State, who barely lost to UConn, is going to beat a team that is red hot. And you're like, well, you never know. The 8th seeded team that technically shouldn't be here. Because the one thing I'm going to end with, Notre Dame was the 9th seeded team, the first team out. They were a 4-2 team. Of the 2 teams that made it as a 4-2 between Oregon and Notre Dame got screwed. Notre Dame should have been the 8th seed, not Oregon.
So why didn't they get in?
It shouldn't be Oregon.
So why didn't they get in?
You know why? Because I think that the quality of the teams that Notre Dame had to deal with was not as equal as Oregon. First of all, the 2 losses that they had was Ohio State, and they managed to get 13 off of them. Georgia by, at least 14 points. But here's the point. These are quality losses. Quality losses do matter because it stipulates the amount of points that teams are willing to give up.
I'm still not over the fact
that is a number one reason why Oregon should not even be an 8th seed.
Okay, but let me piggyback off your point before we move on to the second team out. I'm going to say that once we get to the I can't believe you're taking this stance on this. We've seen in previous tournaments that teams that had no business being here make it to semis and quarterfinals and finals. So the fact that you're saying that, an 8th seed can't be the 1 seed, it's bullshit. We see a team, UCF, made it to back-to-back semifinals. And that was a team that we thought had no business being in the tournament. No, they were 1 game away from the finals. So now you tell me after we seen one team doing back-to-back tournaments, all of a sudden now, because Oregon didn't have quality wins, the 8th seed can't be the 1 seed? I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to say it one more time. Knock it the fuck off. Knock it off. Because you cannot say that when we seen this.
The answer is, and it's so simple that it's so obvious, Oregon's not Central Florida. At the end of the day, Oregon is not an average, crappy Big Ten team. Okay, when they were playing back when there was a real Pac-12, Oregon dominated the Pac-12. I understand that Oregon has that lineage, but we're talking about the CFT. And with the tournament, you have games that are thrown at you that it's either you win and you win substantially and you keep that high ranking, or if you're squeaking in worse with a loss, then yeah, you should be looked at as suspect. And in this case, Notre Dame is the better team. And with that,
if that's the case,
here's the reason why I'm saying that. Because if Notre Dame was facing Indiana, I would say, Indiana, you should be careful. I can't say that against Oregon. You know why? Because they already lost. There's a head-to-head. Like, are you, like, yo.
So then why, so then answer this question. Why are they not in?
Notre Dame did not do enough to manage to get more points in the games that they needed to get. I think that the Ohio State game was a blessing because to get 13 points off of them, that is something that,
So then it just goes to my point that Oregon had the better numbers game, and that's why they're in the Notre Dame is out.
Barely, and that's not a reason why they can
like you said earlier, it doesn't matter.
It's not a reason for them to think, oh, that's going to be we got Indiana. Indiana.
The playoffs
is going
are
to
reset. The playoffs are a reset.
Indiana is going to beat Oregon by 40.
All right, you're disrespecting Oregon. And I like Indiana. I think you're disrespecting Oregon.
They're gonna get
I think you're gonna get a different Oregon team.
They're gonna get
I think you're gonna get a different Oregon team that you okay, how about this?
Crush.
How about this? Whenever we get to that game, if Indiana drops more than 40 points on Oregon, I'll buy you a case of beer.
I'm getting a case of beer because there's no.
I didn't tell you which one though.
I don't give a shit.
You gotta drink quality beer. You can't get no shitty ass beer.
You give me piss water, I don't give a damn. The taste of victory matters more to me because Oregon is not winning this game.
Honestly, I'm going on record, folks. I'm going on record. It's going to be a different Oregon. Again, I don't think Oregon's going to win, but I don't think they're going to get blown out by like 40, 50 points.
No, it's not. I think that Oregon is.
Because you're disrespecting Oregon.
Oregon is going to get that work. They're going to get that Indiana work. What was that? 41-0 the last time they faced
That was the first game of the tournament.
Yeah, and they were shit then, and they're going to be shit once again.
Well, if they were shit, they wouldn't be here, and it would be Notre Dame, not them. Anyway, moving on. Penn State is the second team out, unfortunately. They broke even. They win, and they didn't lose. They didn't win, and they didn't lose. They broke even with a 3-3 record. They lost to Georgia, Ohio State. Now, honestly, come on, let's be real here. I mean, you lost to quality teams. I mean, it was hard. I mean,
Louisiana got 26 off of Penn State. Like you can't make it to the playoffs, and you like giving up like 26. I think that
we had another team that gave up that many points. I don't see you making fun of them.
Who was it?
I forgot. I think it was Oregon State. One of those teams that
the one of them that's in the playoffs.
Oh wow, that's the avenue you're going down. All right, cool.
Response.
Anyway, we're gonna move on to predicting the national champion. Now, we had a discussion before we went on air. We went back and forth on who do we think was going to be in the finals. Now, we're gonna go with BVG's pick first, and then we'll go with mine.
Ohio State's facing Indiana. I think Indiana will be a 2-time CFT champion. There is going to be a moment where people are finally going to see why Indiana is great. I'm not going to belittle how talented Ohio State is. I mean, both teams have leading Heisman finalists. They have multiple players winning numerous awards from their defense and offensive personnel. I mean, these are teams that have light up many of their opponents. But Indiana is going to shock everybody once again because Mendoza is the man. Mendoza, Cooper Jr., you know what I'm saying? Like, these are folks that have led Indiana to a position where they're going to destroy Ohio State. And I'm going to predict it right here. It's going to be Indiana winning Ohio State. The score, 20-10.
Okay, cool, in the alternate universe. But in reality, there's another team that I think might face Indiana. In my scenario, Indiana's still going to make it to the championship game. But I think the team that's going to shock everyone, including this non-believer right here, the Bulldogs of Fresno State. I think,
okay,
you can make all the head nods you want, Mr. Potato Head. The point is,
all right,
I think Fresno State is going to prove him wrong. I think running back U is going to be back open for business.
If they stay healthy.
Gillian and Donaldson are going to get it together. And I think I don't think there's not going to be a defense that's going to stop those two. I think if those two are on the same page, if we've seen it, if those two are on the same page, I don't think there's a defense that can stop them. And I think the only team, and I mean the only team that can pretty much probably give Fresno State a lot of trouble and probably even blow it out would be Indiana. And I think...
Do you think Indiana will defeat Fresno State for a championship? In other words, do you think Fresno State will be the champions of this tournament this year? Yes or no?
Can I answer that question and add on a statement?
Sure.
I think that Fresno State is going to make it to the championship, but I don't think they're going to win.
Okay.
I just have them getting to the championship just to prove you wrong.
Okay.
I think that's what I think. I feel like you don't think. I don't think you feel like.
So you're saying that Fresno State is better than Ohio State when it comes to the.
All right. See now. See, I see what you're doing. You're playing semantics game again. You're playing semantics game. I'm not. You're not doing this. You're not gonna catch me.
Can we agree?
You asked me a simple question and I answered you.
But hold on. Let's just.
We don't even know they're gonna be on the same side of the bracket.
I'm not saying whether they are or they aren't. What I am saying is head to head. Ohio State is better than Fresno State, right?
You're really gonna do this. I see what you did. I fell right for it. All right, I gotta answer this question.
Head to head.
I think Fresno State has the better running team, but I think overall Ohio State's a better team. However,
Ohio State got the best quarterback.
However,
launching.
Is Julian just saying?
He's always saying some shit.
And I think he wants me saying anything and running back you runs down their throat. Okay. However, I will say this before we get to our dark horses and get out of here. I honestly think if Ohio State and Fresno State are in the same bracket, I think that game's going to come down to the wire. I don't think it's going to be a blowout as you think it would be. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, and I think the first person to make a mistake is the one who's going to lose.
I can. Sure, I can.
But I'm not going to have you keep disrespecting Fresno State like that.
But
I can't.
Fresno State, look, you should be happy where you are in quarters. But that's just me.
Anyway, I'm not doing, because we're going to be out here. We're going to be here all night. All right, we're going to get to our dark horses before we get out of here. And I'm going to go first with my dark horse. Obviously, you guys already know what that is. It's the Bulldogs of Fresno State because I want to see the look on BBG's face. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Fresno State, but honestly, you know what? That's a pretty good thing. Because I think the team that you really think that should be swapped with Notre Dame will probably have a better chance making it at least to the semifinals. And that would be the Ducks of Oregon. And then I'll tell you why. I still got Fresno State getting to the finals, but I want Oregon to make it at least to the semifinals.
Well, I don't think that's going to be possible because Oregon State is facing Indiana. So for that to even be a possibility,
I see what you're saying.
The whole rant that we were been spending 25 minutes
would have been for nothing.
Would have had to been resolved.
Okay, so do you think? You know why I think Oregon State, even though I hate them, I think
so. It's Oregon State, you mean?
Yes, Oregon State. Sorry. The reason why I think Oregon State is, even though I don't like them, I think because it's their first time here. No one expected them to get as far as they did. They've had some pretty good wins. They have won some pretty tight games on the road.
They have.
They have a pretty good resume. Even I just hate them because it's fun to do it. But to be,
he admits it. He admits it.
Hey, it's better than thinking that Fresno State don't belong here. Anyway, I think that as much as me hating on them because it's fun, I honestly think they are the dark horse because, like I said, their quality of wins. And also, they won the game they were supposed to win. So even though I make fun of them a lot, I think that they have an opportunity to make some noise in this tournament. I just make fun of them just for shits and giggles because it riles him up and it's just fun. But to be honest, to be fair, I think they have a chance to shake things up. So I think they can do something. I don't see them getting far, but I've seen them making some noise. So we'll see what happens.
My dead horse is Fresno State. Look, as much as I talked a lot about whether or not they have a fighting chance, I do still think that there's a world that Fresno State can demonstrate why they've made it to the playoffs. And I feel that if they're able to do that, starting with their first opponent going into the playoffs, could be something where I can see a Fresno State going up against Indiana for the national title. So I don't know. Like, if it gets to that point, yeah, Fresno State can have a fighting chance.
Well, we'll see. So we're gonna wrap things up here. But before we do, we just want to thank everyone who has tuned in throughout this year's iteration of the tournament. This is the biggest one we've done, and we want to thank you guys for coming on this journey with us. And like I said, we made it here, and you haven't seen nothing yet. You know, if you thought the tournament was crazy, stay tuned for the playoffs. So for all of us here at BVG Studios, thank you once again. I am that other guy alongside Brownsville Gamer.
And if you like what you saw, like we always say, please like, subscribe, leave something back with a comment. The best way for us to interact with you, to get to know what you're thinking, is for you to leave something back in return for us to know coming from where you are. So like, subscribe, and join in with all of what you love and care about of this series. And we want to hear from you. So thank you very much.
Yep, stay tuned. The playoffs coming soon. See ya.
Alrighty.